Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and I want to welcome you to my live podcast from Southern California. This is a podcast all about the child protection system that is in every place in the United States and even worldwide. Now, the child protection system is a government agency that's supposed to protect our children from abuse and neglect, and also supposed to do family reunification, bring the families back together, and if there's hiccups, help them out, help out the families. Because it's been studies shown that the best parents to be with your kids are the biological parents. It's shown that biological parents are way better than any other mom and dad out there. So there should be an effort to place the mom and dad with the children. But as live you have found out and been following me and going through your CPS case, it isn't a very nice entity. It wasn't for me. I was involved in CPS for 3 years. I've been fighting for 14 years. They harassed me for 5 years and then used deception to steal my children, to traffic my children, and put them in foster care. It was really, really sad what they did. They also stole one of my children, brainwashed her at the age of 12 to divorce her parents, divorce her brother, divorce her grandparents, seal her name, change her name, and seal her birth certificate, and then get adopted. That was all because of CPS. The child protection system and the child protection services here in Southern California was one of the worst government agencies I've ever seen. They're very rude to elder people. I was 65 at the time, and at 55 you're considered a senior, and then at age 65 you're considered a elderly person. And there's no respect. There's no respect. They lie, they cheat, they're not transparent, and they will contrive to try to take your children for the sole purpose of making money off you. Every time they get a child in protected services, they get money for them. And that's right. They make a lot of money. And I know this firsthand, and also from talking to all of you here. Now, this podcast can go several ways. It's interactive, which means that you can text a message to me about CPS. All I'd like to see is your city and state you're from. Your name will come in, because in order to be on this podcast, you had to register your name. So it's really important that you put down what the CPS issue is about, and I'll try my best to answer your question or your concerns. I'm not an attorney, but I want to thank Mr. Davis, who is an attorney, a family law attorney. His firm, Vincent Davis Associates, puts on this podcast, and many kudos go to Mr. Davis. He wants to help you. He wants to help you. And you can call in at 888-888-6582. Hello from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Hi, Portia Ivy. Welcome. And I extend a warm welcome to you. And I imagine you're going through a child protection issue right now with your children. I'd like to hear about it and how I can help you. Now, if you want to talk live right now, you can call into 626-698-0990. And that is a number that you can reach and can talk about your CPS case live on the air. You won't be seen, but you'll be heard because I'll put you on speakerphone. And I'd love to have you. Tonight, I don't have a guest speaker. So it's a perfect opportunity for any of you out there listening that you want to be a guest speaker. Call in to 626-698-0990. Now, if you don't want to be on the show, you don't want to call in or text, and you want to be on a later time, I have a hardworking producer. Her name is Grace, and she works very hard to make these programs possible. All you have to do is write her an email to grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. If you miss it, it's scrolling across the bottom of my screen. It's scrolling across the bottom of my screen. And tell her that you want to be in one of my 14 shows, either morning show or night show. I'm on 7 days a week, and I usually am on at 10 o'clock in the morning for an hour Pacific Standard Time and 7 o'clock at night for an hour Pacific Standard Time. For this upcoming weekend, I do have little changes here. On Saturday, I'll be starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I won't be on at 10. I'll be on at 7. And on Sunday, I'll be on at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time on Sunday. And instead of the 10:30 time. But anyway, please write grace@vincentwdavis.com and be on my podcast. I'd love to have you. I'd love to have you. So what's happening in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? Portia Ivy, what's happening there? I'd love to help you and tell me what's going on, and maybe I can. Now, I always talk about my 3 rules, and they're very basic rules. And these rules will help you. I did not follow these rules myself, but I should have. Now, rule number 1 is about an attorney. And you're probably saying, attorney? I can't afford an attorney. Yes, I know. I couldn't either. I had to sell my house to get an attorney. I had to give up so much of my life to get my kids back. And I still love them dearly. I know how important a family is. I've been there. I've been homeless. I've living out of my car, my RX-7 for a period of time. That was hard. It seems like I've been sacrificing my life for my kids. That's all I think about is working hard for them and giving them some money and come up with some ideas. I have beautiful 6 children. I have 3 older ones and 3 younger ones. The younger ones were involved in CPS. Now, I talked about an attorney. You're probably saying, well, gee, doesn't the public defender defend me? No, the public defender is wasted thought. I tried one. I replaced them, tried another, replaced them. They just don't work. They have 20 or more case loads, so they don't have enough time for you. You're going to get them the day before your hearing in court. There won't be enough time to prepare, and they won't fight for you. They're going to go for the easy way out. And all I know is that CPS loves to drag the program out. They did for me from 2015 to December 2017. That's 3 years they dragged it out. Their whole purpose was to make that money. And my family wasn't in imminent danger, but they took them. And that's the sad part is CPS thinks every case is imminent danger and they take your kids. I've talked to over 500 people from different parts of the country. And they say the same thing. They say the same thing about CPS. They're not transparent. They lie. They're very deceitful. And they have no background or training. My social worker didn't have a college degree, no classes in social work, no certificate or license. Didn't even mentor with another social worker to find out how it's done. Right away at the age of 22, she's put into the system. And her whole goal was to work for bonuses. She got bonuses and she showed what she got her bonuses for. Her new eyelashes, her makeup, her dresses, her Gucci purse every week, and then her BMW car. And I know that they give social workers bonuses. It's already been reported. And other people here have said the same thing. In fact, there's a case in Kentucky where $389,000 went unaccounted for in the social services. $389,000. That's terrible. Now, it is really bad with their kids with neglect and abuse. One in every children is being investigated. 3.8 million children are being investigated. That's a lot of children. That's a lot of families. And it disrupts your family and so forth. So, as I mentioned, attorney is very important because if you think about open heart surgery, you're something wrong with your heart, you need to replace a valve or you need to put a stent in or something on your heart. You're going to contact a professional doctor who's gone to medical school that did an internship and has been mentoring other doctors to perform the work on you. You're not going to do it yourself as a layperson. You're not going to get other lay people to do it or someone that is good at being a foot doctor. You're going to get someone that has done open heart surgery. Same thing goes for child protection um, system. You need to have an attorney, and it is a family law attorney you need. Someone that has experience in juveniles and family law, and also has experience in fighting CPS and getting the children back. I wish I had done. I tried to fight it for a year and a half myself. It wasn't very successful. CPS, the CPS system is like you're an Alice in Wonderland, and you fell in that rabbit hole, and there's places that you cannot, um, there's so many doors you don't know where you open to, and they open to nowhere. You're so lost, as Allison is in Alice in Wonderland. You'll be lost in the CPS system, big time. Now, another thing about CPS, they're going to trick you and deceive you, and they'll lie to you. They lied to me. They're like a spider spinning a web around you and pulls you in, sucks you in. And every time they visit your home or see your child at the hospital or something, they want to take the child right away because they're always in imminent danger. And then rule number 3, I'll tell you about how to fight that. But rule number 1, you need to get an attorney, and we have one. I tell people you need to make a list of 10 names of family law attorneys. And then from that list, you need to weed it down to 5 that you're going to call. And they should have a background in CPS, and children getting children back and winning cases. Well, I got somebody right now that I'll give you the number and you can call and you can see him. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He is the top family law attorney, I think, in the country. And he will get your children back. He got my 2 boys back. But I tried to handle my case myself the first year and a half and lost my daughter. And that still hurts me very deeply inside. Because I know how much I love family and how much family means to me. When you grow up as a small child, you see your mom and dad struggle in life and you see them go through life tragedies and things. And you said, I want to be better than my mom and dad. I want to have a real family, a white picket fence. I want to have grandchildren. I want to walk my daughter down the aisle at the wedding. I want to take my son out for his first drink. I want to do so much for my kids. I loved them so much. I spoiled them. A lot. But I did some mistakes along the way, and I've regretted and I've learned from them, and I'm sorry. But right now, I'm trying to help you all not do the same mistakes I made and get your kids back. So I know how important kids mean to you. Children are really special and they need a lot of love. They really do. They're going through a lot in life, a lot of pressure on them, too. We have the age of technology now and things move so fast with the internet and the computers. When I grew up, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have the internet, I didn't even have a cell phone. I didn't get any of those things until they invented cell phones, until they invented computers, laptops, and then I did. All right, I'm back. I have a family. I still have my two young sons living at home with my wife. My wife and I have been together for 32 years. And it's been a struggle. I'm so sad that we've been hurt by CPS. And now she's very angry. She's very angry losing her daughter. She also saw how she was treated as a child growing up with her mom and dad and how CPS didn't protect her. But with this attorney, all you do is you call in to 888-888-6582 and ask for to speak to Mr. Davis. He's offering a consultation right now, a 30-minute consultation for $49.99. That's $50. That's a bargain because he will tell you the strategies of how to fight CPS and get your children back. And it's well worth you talk to Mr. Davis because you may retain him as your primary attorney. He works in Southern California, Northern California, and all the 50 states. But he's excellent. He has sued CPS. He has fought CPS in federal court and in state court. So he knows his business well. So when you do call in, make sure you tell him my name. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that I sent you. Use my name. Bob Pace sent me. Remember, the number is 888-888-6582. It's the lower corner of my window screen. It's in there in yellow and red. That's the number. The other number in blue and white is my office number, and you can call right now to talk. I'd love to have you talk right now because I guess sometimes people get tired of hearing my whole story again and again and again. But CPS is hard. It's not very fair. They do child trafficking, which is illegal. And they violate your Constitution and civil rights, especially when they take your children. Especially when they take your children. Now, let's talk about rule number 2 to get it out of the way. Rule number 2 is you need a clean notebook to take notes. I didn't do this. And you want to write down line item by line item. The first is the first incident that happened with you in CPS. You want to put the date and the time and the people that are involved. The social workers, the code enforcement, the firemen, the policemen, the children, you guys, the parents. You write the names or the description of the titles, the number of people involved. Then on the second line, you want to describe the incident. What happened? They came to your home. They took your children. They didn't promise what they promised. Every incident you have, you write down. It may take 1 or 2 lines to describe the incident. Then the next couple lines, you want to put the outcome. What happened? Was it resolved? You may not have it resolved. You may have to come back 6 months later and write in how it was resolved. But this information in the notebook will come valuable because your case may go on, 8 years. Technically, they say they have 48 days to close your case. But that's not guaranteed because mine was 3 years. And one fellow I talked to was 8 years. And that's a long time to keep the case open, but they get their money. That's what they're interested in. That's what they're interested in. But You really need to know. You have to study. They're like your enemy. And I hate to say that because they're mean, but you got to study them. You got to look at the strategies and how to avoid them. And that's why I want to talk about rule number 3. You have your home, your castle, and you don't want to allow them in your home or castle. They don't need to be there. The only time they can come in your home or kick a door down if the incident is happening right then and there. Someone's fighting each other, they're shooting each other, a child is being slammed against the wall. Those are imminent dangers. They're going to intervene. But if they come over just to investigate a complaint and walk through your home, that's not imminent danger, and they should not take the children, and you should not let them in the home. First of all, your home is your castle, and the general rule is never let a stranger into your home. And policemen and social workers are strangers, and they have alternative motives. They're not there to help you. Somehow they got a kick that they want to hurt families that are struggling. You know, in 2015, I lost my job through no fault of my own. It wasn't because I was not performing thing. The contracts that pulled in for the construction company for the heavy highway and civil engineering, the state of California wrote IOUs on them. There were public funds as allocated for the projects, but the governor decided to take upon himself to use those funds to keep the government going. They're getting ready to close like the city of Detroit was. And so they thought to be smart and take the money. Now that's illegal. If I had an attorney or some money, I could have fought it. But I didn't. Money, as you know, is hard to come by. But the hardest thing you're going to be facing is the emotional stress on you. You may be going through hard times. You may be lost your home. You may be homeless. You may have lost your job or don't have a job. You may have done something stupid like take some drugs and things like that. All those things can be fixed. It's not the end of the world. People do make stories and make problems. So I'm telling you that what you're going through, okay, I'm back again. So this rule number 3 is you don't let them in your home, including the police, unless they have a warrant or the children in imminent danger. If they're outside the door knocking, look through the peephole. If you don't recognize them, you know there's somebody else you don't know, don't let them in. You have a phone, they can call and leave a message. You have a mailbox, they can write you a letter. But you don't need to rush. Because what they'll do when they come in your home, they'll see things they'll use against you. Plus, they want to take your children right away. They see your children in imminent danger, they want to take them. It's really shame the tactics that they use. It's not nice tactics. It's not nice tactic at all. They're very corrupt. And, they're one of the evil people that I know on this earth. They have no people skills, and they hate parents, and they don't treat elder people with respect. They're strictly in there for the money, the billion-dollar business. And I know because I've talked to the top dog. And like a mistake, I let them in my house. And that's where they made allegations. Those stupid allegations. It was called neglect. And the neglect was that I had my parents' belongings, their furniture and boxes. They were slowly dying, and I was trying to sort through them. And I said I'd take them. And they were throughout the house stacked. And they thought that would hurt the children. Since when do boxes have wings and fly upstairs and attack children? Since when does furniture have legs that move, that go up the stairs and attack the children? That's how silly they were. They made that up. And they took our children right away. I'll never forget it. And they were pulled from school. 2 of my other children were in school. The one I picked up from school. and they're all taken. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what was happening. All they saw was this. At my house, I had 5 firemen, 2 code enforcement, 2 uniformed policemen, 3 social workers, and a detective all stand for my house in their battle gear, combat boots, looking very threatening. What kind of emotional stress is that to a 9-year-old child? They don't think about the emotional stress they put the children through. Then, on top of that, when they take them into foster care, they put them in a shelter. This foster care place was a shelter. It was a block, sterile building next door to the juvenile prison. So juveniles that are in there that did bad things could be exposed to the children in the play yard. And on top of that, there was beehives that would sting the children. What kind of protection is CPS doing there? How they're protecting my children? The place was dirty, overcrowded, the food was awful. And their idea of doing school was to read a book to them. My children were all in STEM classes. They were all trying to do well in school, A's and B's. They were taking classes that most people aren't ready for. And I had one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary. They're athletic. They love sports. They're good nature. They loved a lot of things in life, but they're put in there that have changed, and all my kids have changed now. So that's really hard. My 3 young ones, this is sad because now they're 21, 24, and 18. They're not the same anymore. Of course, I told you earlier that my daughter was stolen from us, but she has not made contact. She's 21. We catch this glimpse of her on the social media, but we don't know what she's doing, what college she's going to, how she's been treating. Supposedly, the foster parents that she got adopted did her bad, and she lives now in an apartment with a friend of hers. And I'm not sure if she's in college or not in college. Now, my sons do, I encourage them to go and visit with her because when she divorces, she divorced my sons. So going back to the rule number 3, you don't let them in. You don't let them take your children. And that goes for the police too. They have to have a warrant. And that warrant's got to list the names of who they want to take, who they want to talk to, and the allegations, the date and time and the place. If that's not on there, then don't let them out. Don't let them. In fact, you shouldn't. You just need to tell them a simple way to do if you get in trouble with them is say, hey, I got an attorney. I need to speak to him first before I answer your questions or before I help you with these matters. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. You're entitled. Your constitutional right is entitled to an attorney. And that's where they go and say, if you can't afford one, the court appointed one. Well, you don't want that appointment. They'll be worthless. They will take you down a road of nowhere. Now, there's another thing called medical trafficking. And that's where if your child is ill and you take them to the hospital, and let's say you and the doctor disagree on something, right away they call CPS because a lot of hospitals have the caseworkers working there. And they take the children, which is wrong. They need a warrant. Or you're having a baby and you're tested positive in drugs, and before the baby comes out, the caseworkers are in there with their greedy hands to steal your baby. That is wrong too. Those kind of people, the police and soldiers, can wait in the lobby. Unless they have a court warrant, they're not supposed to be in your birthing room. That's for you and your family members. I mean, what kind of traumatic effect is that to have some strange goon squad come into your birthing room and steal your children? It's sad. It has happened. CPS has gotten so far out of hand. There was a mother who was having some surgery work done in Boston, Massachusetts, at the hospital there in Boston. And she, beforehand, had placed her children with her mother. These were the children's grandmother. Nice lady, and she lived in Rhode Island. So she did that before she went to the hospital. Then when she was at the hospital, they started interviewing her, and then they started accusing her of neglecting her children because they weren't with her. And she tried to tell them that her mom. Then what they did, these social workers had enough guts to go into another jurisdiction. They drove from Boston, Massachusetts to Rhode Island, knocked on the door of the grandmother, and said, "We're here to take the children." And of course, the grandmother didn't know. I mean, this is, you don't know a lot of these things. You do not know. So medical trafficking is bad, whether you're having a child or whether you're having a child, diagnostic there. It's really sad. It's gotten to the point now where the whole goal is to make money and take away children. Now, I'm halfway through my show. I'd like to remind everybody to text a message into me so I can answer it. Just put the city and state or country that you're texting from. Also, if you'd like to talk on the show, I have room right now that you can be a guest speaker, and it's 626 698-0990. And you can talk to me live. I'll put you on speakerphone. Now, if those two methods don't work for you, I have another one that you can write my producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's great. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's at the scrolling down the bottom part of my screen. So that way you can do that. So those are ways you can interact there. Don't forget, this show is produced by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. My attorney, Vincent W. Davis, can be reached for consultation for 30 minutes for $49.99. Just call in at 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. That's really important for him to know. Now, the last half an hour, I've talked about our 3 rules. I've talked a little bit about CPS. Now I'm going to talk about, I have different tabs of different things that might help you on getting your kids back. Now, one thing I notice is always good is to learn the history of an organization that you're trying to work with. And the history of social work has been going around a long time. It's been going on a long time. The whole purpose of the social work was to help out the homeless and the poverty places in the cities as they're getting big. And there's a lot of other agencies that are coming around. In 1843, there was the Children's Aid Society, which is still around today, that gave aid to children. In 1853, there was the Association for Improvement of the Conditions of the Poor. And I'm not sure if that's still around too. But they focus on addressing social issues such as child welfare and tenant housing. Now, based upon the need created by the upheaval of Civil War, 1861-1865, major social welfare initiatives such as the U.S. Sanitary Commission and the American Red Cross emerged. Charity boards were created as means to improve the management of social institutions. The first federal social welfare program, referred to as Freeman's Bureau, began in 1865 as a means to help newly emancipated slaves. These slaves were set free, but they're in poverty, and so forth. The program, though, was short-lived, and however, as a lack of funds and political pressure prevented it from carrying out its mission. And that was shut down in 1872. In 1877, the first American Charity Organization Society attempted to respond to the social consequences of industrialization with scientific charity. Using concepts from the business field, reformers attempted to regulate public relief distribution to minority immigrant communities who are rapidly growing as part of the labor force. However, most of the significant scientific charity relief efforts were not effective in part because many recipients prefer mutual and established by their own communities. Things such as settlement houses were created in response to some of the society changes caused by industrial expansion. Settlement houses are neighborhoods based organizations that provide service specifically to the needs of their neighborhood, much like a community center does. This new type of social agency focuses on correcting the environmental cause of poverty. Their activities included conducting research, establishing a juvenile court system, creating window pension programs, promoting legislative and prohibiting child labor, and introducing public health reforms, and the concept of social insurance. The first U.S. settlement, the Neighborhood Guild, began in 1886. In 1889, Jane Addams and Ellen Gates created the Hull House, the most famous settlement house located in the midst of culturally diverse neighborhoods in Chicago. The Hull House welcomed anyone in the need of assistance. The residents of the Hull House offered public education programs to everyone in the community, along with social services such as public kitchen, access to public baths, and a nursery. So society was trying to help. They were trying to get things taken in there. Now, the Child Protection Services has three areas they referred to. The first area is from the colonial time to 1875. The second area is from 1875 to 1962. And the third area is from 1962 to the present. And they have developed and are supposed to protect the children from negligence and abuse, but they're not. They're making money needlessly off children, and children are being abused in foster care homes. It's really sad what has happened. It really is sad. There's been a lot of things going on lately where children are being shipped to other states for treatment because one state doesn't have the facilities. They should have to leave the state. In Atlanta, Georgia, there's a group of young teenagers, 12, 13, 14, that were shipped to another state. And one of them was turning 18 and got lost in the system. It's sad. And it's not working. It's not working. Now, if you want to do a petition for appointment of a guardian, you have to look at your state for the form. Now, if you receive a petition, that means someone has asked the court to make them the guardian of your child, a family member's child, or if you're a minor under 12 or older. Be really careful that they do not take your children. It'll be up to the judge in dependency court who decides who becomes the guardian. Now, the petition for appointment of the guardian, the name of the person or people who want to be a child guardian are listed are listed in a form you can get, and it's why they think a guardianship is needed. Now, the second page of the petition or the attachment explains why the person thinks a guardianship is needed. This could be if a child's bouncing around and doesn't have stable parents. Now, if you disagree with the guardian, you must go to the hearing so the judge can hear your side. So that is so much important. Now, if you think the child needs a guardian or think someone else should be the guardian, you can go to the hearing and ask to speak. You can also file a written statement before the hearing saying you object and why. Now, if you're the children's parent, you're entitled to receive notice of the hearing on the petition for appointment of guardian. That's where they want to take the child from you. You got to be careful there. You got to really be careful there. Now, it's very important you look up their child welfare system on your state webpage. Every state's different. Some are more thorough than others. Now, they're supposed to work. CPS is. The Child Protection Service is a state agency that investigates reports of a child abuse and neglect. They have 24 hours when they get a call in. Allegations are made by call in by lay people and professionals have to report if they suspect neglect or abuse. To see a child, a teacher, a school counselor, a nurse, a doctor, a policeman, all those have to report it. Now, lay people report it, but a lot of times they use alternative motives. Such was in my case where family members decided to look at ways to take our children away. It was really sad. It was sad because for 32 years, they did not me to be with my wife. That's really sad. They were doing anything they can to take our children. Now, they work with both parents supposedly, but I never see that really happen. They report to safety care for their child. Now, CPS can also go to the court to remove a child from the parent's care if it's necessary. And it seems like all the time it's necessary. The children are in imminent danger all the time. All the time they are. All right, We're Human. Glad to see you back. We Are Human has been on here before. I have a trail and a curiosity hearing next month. Can't say I'm not nervous with Freck there. Oh, you have a trial. I think trial spelled Trial. But trail. I've done that. And a hearing next month. I'd love for you that We Are Human to be on my show. My social worker told me my child can still be in foster care and I can still have custody. How can that be true? When they're in foster care, it's called temporary. It isn't permanency. They haven't done that yet. Let me read you the flow chart of how the case works. Now, you can Google the juvenile flow chart for dependency flow. It's called the juvenile dependency flow chart. And what it does, it helps you understand the steps that they do. They first get the report from the allegation. They have 24 hours to investigate it if it's true. When they get an allegation, social workers believe it's true and you're guilty. It's different than other court things where you are innocent till you're proven guilty. But in their eyes, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Now, when they get that investigation, they're either going to come to your home or talk to you. And if they come to your home and you let them in, they're going to take your child and put them in protective custody because they think the child's in imminent danger. And if the child's not in custody, it goes to no petition is filed. But if your child is in custody, they will file a dependency petition. Now, during that time, also, when they take your child in protective custody, they'll have a safety meeting where you meet with the social workers and determine who cares for the child. It's strongly recommended that you give them a list of family members to take care of your child when you're going through this mess. That is a lot better than have family members. But we had one and they last a little bit, but they didn't realize how much work it is to take care of 3 children. It's unbelievable. People do not understand how much work goes into taking care of a family or children. A lot of work goes, a lot of good works. Now I'm very lucky to have a hardworking wife that took care of our children really well because I was at work. And she worked very hard with the kids' homework and bustle them around and everything. That was good. So then you have this petition that's been filed, and you want to look at Health and Welfare Code of 325. And they're going to set a hearing, a detention hearing about this petition. That's where they're going to try to find out if you're guilty or what needs to be done. Now, the judicial hearing is always within 30 days of the petition. Now, the detention hearing is where they will talk about issues and so forth. Then they have something called a jurisdictional hearing. That's where they decide who has control of the child. And lastly, it's called a disposition hearing, where they make plans either the kid be adopted or sent back to the parents. And when the child is declared dependent, that means they're dependent of the court. So anyway, that chart really helps you a lot. It's well worth looking at it and everything. So okay, we have about 12 minutes left of my show. Again, I want to thank Mr. Davis for providing this podcast. Please call in 888-888-6582. Ask him for help. If you want to call in, please call 626-698-0990, and I can put you on the show to talk to. If you want to be on the show, one of my 14 podcasts, then you write an email to Grace, my producer, at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and she'll set up the time, one of my 14 podcasts. Now, I know most of you right now are either tired at night or you're very discouraging. Try not to be, because I feel for you. I care. I'm a loving man, loving father, and I really think highly of my family. And I care about you guys as people too and what you're going through. I've been there, and I'm still tangled up with CPS. It's a bad nightmare that I can't seem to get out of that rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. But if you follow my 3 rules and you hire an attorney, you'll be more than set to handle your case. Because your attorney will help you make decisions that you may not know how to make. And that is important too. That's important too. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. One thing that happens at the safety plan meeting, and this is for any of the Indian parents out there. If any of you are the first immigrants, the Native American Indians, or descendants of them, if you have 25 to 35% of Indian blood in you, you can be, let me see it here. Here it is. When you are meeting for the safety meeting and the social worker asks you, are you a Native American Indian? And if you think you are, you may not, but you can say yes. They have to, by law, they have to contact the federal recognized tribes, if your tribe is federally recognized, to see if you're registered or could be registered. And if any of you are Native American Indians, write this number down, 415-865-7739, and that'll put you with the tribal state programs for assistant. Now, what this ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, is supposed to do is to place your children with the tribe, who in turn will place them with the Indian family, and then they'll try to take care of what needs to be fixed. This is really important with families involved in the legal system, because sometimes they're not very good parents themselves, and they let something slip. Now, this law was enacted in 1978 to help prevent the breakup of Native American families. It sets standards that all state courts must follow in child welfare cases and child custody cases involving members of any federal recognized tribe in the United States and those eligible for membership. Now, to be legally recognized as an Indian child, the child must be under the age of 18 and unmarried. They must be a member of a tribe or eligible for membership, and be the biological child of a member of a federal recognized tribe. But it only affects with federal recognized tribes, so you have to type in your tribe and see if it's federally recognized. Now, what they do is they take your child and put it with the Indian family and get the hiccups fixed. That's what the whole purpose of that form is. That's the whole purpose of that form. Now, another important thing you should know about is something called a motion to change the circumstances or new evidence to modify juvenile court judgments and orders. That means the current plan, if you want to change it, can be changed. And new evidence could be that you completed your parenting classes, you completed the programs. That's all new evidence. And what that does is that when you enact that motion, and California is called a 388, I think in Maine is called a 388, but other states may vary, it forces the judge to have a hearing within 30 days. And then you get to tell the judge and show them the new evidence or the changes. You got to make sure they're filed with all attorneys, the ones for the children, the ones for you guys, for the parents, the ones for the social workers. And then you got to prove your case at the hearing. You got to show them your attachments of your new classes. You may have been drug free and things like you've done testing and stuff. So remember that motion. Remember that motion. That's really important. And remember, now you can make complaints. I tried to, but I got nowhere. I tried to too. You're going to contact your state Department of Social Services. And if you're having a child custody or visitation issues, which were issued by the family court, they must be directed to the Family Court Service Office in the county where the orders were issued. Family court investigation, child court evaluators, and family court mediators are available to provide dispute resolutions in each of the counties of your state. And you can find a phone number by look up the Family Court Service. Or you can go to your www.courts. And the name of your state, your 2 letters of your state.gov, and you'll get that too. You'll get that. Now, if you are reporting youth rights violations by foster families, you want to contact the Office of the Foster Care Ombudsperson. Now, Ombudsperson and CASA are additional people that help supposedly to aid the children, aid you, and understand the system. But sometimes I think they work for CPS. Now, complaints regarding a social worker, you would want that directed to the county of the CWS agency for the resolution. Now, they're located, the county directors and so forth. And you want it by visiting County Welfare Directors Association. They have a website. Now, complaints about law enforcement officers, you can make that with the county district attorney office. And there's a phone number that you can find, and you can make a complaint about law enforcement. Complain about California judges for misconduct and wrongdoing. You want to write to the Commissioner on Judicial Performance. Each state's different. When you complain, should include the name of the judge, relevant dates, names of witnesses, and source of information. So there's a lot of things you can do to resolve your issue. But the main thing is I want you to do is get that attorney. Okay, there's some text comments that came through, and I want to read them. That is true about your foster care, real human. They can still do that. The social worker and her attorney were laughing at my last court date. Also, the social worker stopped talking to me at court since I hired an attorney. Yep, they're really bad. The social workers are really bad. They're worried because an attorney will beat them. If you hire an attorney, good for you, because you will win your case. I almost cried out my last court date right in front of the judge, but I was able to hold it in. I know how hard it is. I've done the same thing too. I feel for that. We are only human. Now here's something called the word about the bench. We've completed everything in our ISP plan. Our last court date was in December. Now our next one is in May. Well, you have to supplement revacation, And I understand that. But even though you complete things, they're going to drag it out. Their whole purpose is to make money. Why give you something to complete you, comply it, and they drag you out on the lies and make up new ones? I understand we're only human. Again, you hired an attorney. That's a smart move, and it will get better for you. It will get better. The last 3 months, every court date, the social worker is making up a new lie. Yes, they do make up lies. You got to catch them in their lies. I caught ours. Our attorney did. Well, my time is up, and I got to end this night. I want to thank We're Only Human for talking. Word about the bench, the Portia Ivy. Thank you for texting in your comments and stuff. And all you that are listening out there, keep fighting for your kids. God bless you. And this is Bob Pace signing off. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.